It's a visual, a little bit slow, I think. What you gonna do? Like here. Without your sweetness and your completeness, I'm lost without you. Oh, I see trouble in my life in times, but I won't let it change my mind. Still in sleep, some peaceful dreams I find, but sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I wonder, people. Sometimes I wonder, wonder, wonder. Oh, oh. Sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I wonder, people. Sometimes I wonder, wonder, wonder. Oh, oh. Ooh. Yeah. We can even play it a bit slower than that.
You're live. We're live, by the way.
Oh, we're actually live. We're on. Oh, well, welcome to the Quarantini. Very happy hour. And tonight, Jamison Ross is here. And Nigel Hall, too. How about that, man?
Glad to be here, man.
I know. So Jamison Ross was in the Absolute Monster Gentlemen for a while. We toured and played all around the world. And Jamison is not only a fantastic drummer, but a great singer, too, and was nominated for the Best Jazz Vocalist 2016. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty major.
Yeah.
So the first time I met Jamison was when we had a Monster Gents gig, and the guys that I regularly use, none of them could do it. And I was really stuck in corner. I said, call this guy. And I usually don't like calling musicians I haven't heard or met, or, you know, I rarely do it, but I was really in a bind. He said, man, trust me, call this cat. You will have no worries, no problems whatsoever. So I called Jamison. And he sat down, and we just sat down and started playing, and he played all the songs perfectly.
Oh, man.
It's like you've been playing them forever. And I said to him, man, where have you been hiding out? You know, all the drummers in New Orleans, where have you suddenly sprung from? And that's when I found out that you're actually from Florida.
Yeah.
So
man.
what's your story with coming to Florida from New Orleans? How did
Yeah.
that happen?
Well, you know, John, first of all, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is great. You know what I'm saying? You know. So long story short, I am from Florida. I moved here to go to grad school. Very influential musician Marcus Roberts, Leon Anderson taught me at Florida State when I was an undergrad. And so I got married and moved here when I was 24 years old. I was in grad school, and I was touring at the time with a jazz vocalist, Carmen Lundy. And so I wasn't in town a lot. I was not in the scene. I was not kind of making my rounds. As a matter of fact, the first time I met Nigel, he heard me completely. He looked at me like, you know, in my eye, and then looked down at my shoes like, who are you? I always like to tell that story, but it's because I wasn't on the scene. I wasn't, you know, I had my own, I had gigs. I was what you call, I was what they would call successful. I was working, but there was a certain scene, which is what's special about New Orleans, that has this merge of all of the genres. It's like a melting pot of musicians. Mm-hmm. That's why this place is so special. So yeah, I can go to New York and hang out, but I would come to New Orleans and only certain pockets would know that I actually existed. So me actually becoming involved with your band really opened up kind of the floodgates for people understanding that I had what I call kind of a broad range and perspective of music. Yes. They didn't know that. You know, some people would know that I played, you know, I had this record contract at the time that people didn't even know I had that. You just knew I was a musician around town, you know. Yeah. And so I had a lot going for myself, but to be honest with you, man, I love music. I love to make it. So I never really actually used that stuff as value for how I approached making music, i.e. me working with you, you know. Yeah. And so Big D and Cornell had always raved to me about you, about the band. And I remember when I got the call, I was like, yo, I'm there. And I really wanted to do it because And I'll be honest, man, the songs, number one, the songwriting, I always talk about this, and the kind of energy that it puts in the room of the musicians, that's like right up my street, you know? It's got a little bit of funk in it. It's got this tradition, this lineage, this perspective that's rooted in the tradition of the music and it's
Well, thank you. That's nice compliments.
yeah, it is, man. So I can bring myself to the table because I can come to the table with all of my mesh pot of things. You know, the church, the funk, the blues, the swing, the animation and imagination of music that I like to approach it with. And so, being with your band, I think that opens the entire canvas for people actually seeing the range of what I can do musically. And so, man, I thank you for that. And that's how, you know, here I am now on Quarantini Happy Hour.
But you left out a very important thing, though, which is that not many people, in my experience, it's always been true. You get these great drummers all around the world, but there are very few drummers who naturally really play New Orleans stuff right. There's a lot of drummers that do very good, very close approximations. But I couldn't believe that you weren't from New Orleans after we'd been playing. I didn't find out till after we'd already been playing for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And so how did you get the New Orleans stuff?
That's a good question. So the teachers that I don't like to credit to my upbringing. I grew up playing in church, bro. Straight up Pentecostal Baptist church. So there's just certain feels that just is like ingrained. You know, ingrained in my, you know, ethos as a person. So New Orleans, the tradition of New Orleans music, to me, it's just it's a natural marriage of who I am and really the history of this country's music. You see what I'm saying? Like,
so you have an interesting perspective because you play New Orleans drums really great. You're coming like me. You come from somewhere else and fell in love with this stuff.
Exactly.
So can you give us an example of some New Orleans grooves that, from an outside perspective, are distinctive or quirky or colourful or have a quality that's particularly New Orleans, a pocket or from a record or something you could show us?
Yeah, I think one groove I think that is really, you don't hear it a lot in New Orleans. I mean, everybody knows the street beat, you know. I'll just give kind of a little brief history lesson.
While you're doing that, I'm going to make you a martini.
Oh, please, martini me up.
Quarantini
Yeah,
coming up.
you know, Wednesday is the new Friday. Tuesday is new Friday. That's what they say.
Every day
you know?
is a new Friday.
So
some
just
of us.
traditionally, you know, you go back to the days before the hi-hat of the drum set was invented, you know, and I know the greats, Herlin Riley, sending respect to them, Shannon Powell, Ernie Ellie, all the greats who come from the New Orleans tradition, Wayman Weber, they understand this deeper than I do, but I have a respect for it. So, you know, when you talk about just the concept of the no hi-hat drum set perspective, everything comes from the march. So you got this bass drum perspective that's built from the ground up. And when you take that and it elaborates over the years, you start hearing stuff like the roll-off. You know what I'm saying? And so it sits you in a mood already. And it's the rhythmic approach, too. You know, notice how my eighth note is not really tight. It's more...
Yeah.
It's got some grease in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's a great microfilm that I found in college by Elvin Jones who talks about how he would play a six-stroke roll. And he would change the way he would talk to explain how he played a six-stroke roll versus the correct way to play a six-stroke roll. So he would say, you know, the way I would like to play a six-stroke roll is and then he would say, you know, the way I would do it is. And when he would do it, it was like, whoa, so you did it on purpose. Right. So he's like on purpose adding grease and adding a level of character to the music. Long story short, back to New Orleans, you got the roll-off, you got this short. I'm giving you a very abbreviated history lesson here, guys. Yeah. We're going all the way up to the roll-off. From the roll-off, the hi-hat perspective represents the hi-hat player on top of the bass drum. So essentially, you're not using the hi-hat with the foot. You can, this is a more modern perspective, but it's more so... Now, just to kind of show you how New Orleans fits inside of my ethos as a musician, I come from the church. I come from a very, what I call, joyous approach to playing the music. So therefore, I like to take it and put a little bit modern funk in there, you know? I'm not 50 or 60 years old, so I didn't grow up necessarily hearing, Zooty Singleton playing the drums. I didn't. So therefore, I like to put my own thing in there. So when I play New Orleans and I'm playing, I'm like... just a little funk in there, like a little funk, and then sometimes I like... See, now we're diving into Cleary's concept of what I call New Orleans R&B funk tradition, because now you see where the drums. I'm moving fast, but if y'all following me, I'm giving you the
Take
the
your
sauce,
time. Everybody wants to. Do you want a refreshment while you're in the middle of it?
Yeah. Let me
First things first.
Thank you so much, John.
You're very welcome. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers. Welcome to the Quarantini.
Yes, indeed.
What's
It
it?
is. You do. That's all right. There we go. Yeah.
Cheers. What number is this, Trish? Quarantini number
43.
43. Can you believe that?
43. I thought it was like, what
Done
number?
43.
You serious?
Yeah, 43.
We started right after lockdown.
That's smart. That's really smart, actually. Like, you know what?
God, it's good. You need
Right after.
Yeah, man. Well, essentially, and I'll tell you, this is where my real spiritual connection to New Orleans gets really fun. As John said, the funk tradition is really where I make the marriage. Because to me, yeah, you can see me playing a little trad gig around town. Not to diminish that, but where I really come to bring what I call a youthful perspective of energy in the music is when you merge the funk tradition with the entire lineage.
Uh-huh.
That right there is the rabbit hole of information that is a lost art in our entire book of music. That the funk tradition and where New Orleans, the imprint of the New Orleans concept of drumming on the funk tradition is, when I tell you, it is 100% not known by many drummers. I can teach a whole semester on it and actually change the way drummers sound by showing them how to incorporate this sound of funk and freedom into their playing that comes from New Orleans.
And which drummers did you listen to that gave you that had this information that could sort of settle your lights flashing?
Coming from the jazz tradition, James Black. And the reason why I call James Black's name, because people don't consider him to be like necessarily a funk drummer, because he was in the middle. He was playing with Yusuf Lateef. He had like this merge of a musical ability. When you hear his playing, he had that snap in his sound that comes from your great New Orleans drummers. You know that. And then you can hear him sometimes kind of ruffle in some of that jazz influence. And so he'll do stuff like... And so, you got like that... like that. I know I'm giving it a lot of sound there. I hope it's not tearing up the airways. But I'm giving you that snap. It's still not loud, but there's a certain kind of aggression.
That hook and slang stuff.
Oh, man, Eddie Bo. Yo, like...
The stuff he played with Eddie Bo is ridiculous.
When you hear the way his sound, like, you would never come up with that just funking on Friday nights. Right. That's somebody who was, like, completely free in the music, which is honestly what the New Orleans tradition is. Like, being free inside of... honestly, all the elders that you stand on. That's why they sound like that. It's got so much history in it. And so, for me, even, I could just give you an example of a group that we do in John's band. When we do, I love when we do, hey, pocket way. Wait a minute. No. What's the last song we do in the set, John?
Mo Hippa.
Whew.
Got a whole lot of soul, and we gon' funk it up. And what we got
honest, in that groove alone, there's so much there. And I can be honest, you can take a drummer who's not from New Orleans or who does not understand the tradition of the music. They'll come on your gig and play that song. Yeah. And it will feel as stale as a rice cake on a Saturday morning. You hear me? It's like
left out from Friday night.
You hear me? Like, I mean, even being in your band, you are a stickler for tempo, and it's not necessarily tempo; it's the feeling of the song that I think you really care about the most.
Great New Orleans musician from Florida. Great New Orleans musician from DC.
Transplants, man.
And
I'm a New Orleanian.
But the thing is, you speak the language. That's the thing. It's like it's a flavor and a kind of attitude with the music. Mm-hmm. And you're right. A drummer from New Orleans can sit behind a kit and automatically fall into that. If you grew up here with the second line and the street beat stuff,
yeah,
it's a different approach altogether.
I also think too, John, just to bring a highlight to this, man. You know, there's not a. I mean, this is tough because neither one of us are originally from New Orleans, right? A love for not only the culture but the history of the music. I mean, you know, John, you pull it back. I mean, going back all the way to even the whole Cuban influence and the whole.
Let's play. Let me just play this. All right, let's do something. This is a tune I just learned recently, and it's an old danzon or habanera.
I love it.
Whatever. But I'll play a few, but then play some kind of funky stuff. I'll leave it up to you. But I tell you what's really interesting about this tune. This tune was written in the 1860s. By a guy who was still a slave, and he was getting publishing royalties. Back then. You know. So that
There
was
you have it,
that's
folks.
called Las Campanillas,
Yeah, you taught me something.
and that's a tune from the 1860s.
Las
And it's
Campanillas.
just such an easy thing, just to go just like that, and it turns into a New Orleans funk tune. All these years later, like a century and a half later.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I like about New Orleans is how when you see all the links and all the connections. You know, especially for me with like all the Caribbean stuff, all the Jamaican stuff, obviously the Cuban music.
Yeah. John, I'll be honest, man. I think musically. There's a lot of music in between us right now. There's a lot of influences in between just the three of us. And I think what's interesting is in New Orleans. And some people say this about jazz being the kind of music that you can just kind of like bring, yourself to the music. But I feel like in New Orleans, there's just always a space for you to actually impose your personality on the music inside of, the lineage. Like you can put your, everybody has a tinge of where they're coming from in it, Like when you hear, it's like putting Hurlin Riley and putting Shannon on a song, right? And you can see kind of where they tick differently, like you can feel it, man. Like just the way they approach the music. And I'll be honest, man. I think the funk tradition specifically is something that is just so rare. There's a groove that I learned in your band. I think it was a song, not Oh Lordy Mo.
Oh,
No,
yeah, Lordy Mo.
that was is a different one. It's the one we did.
Dynamite.
It's got that boom boom.
Oh, Pump It Up.
Yeah, Pump It Up is one, but there's another one where the groove is called.
Oh, Let's Get Low Down.
Let's Get Low Down.
Oh, you want to play a little bit of that?
Yo.
Yeah, because this is an interesting thing where it's kind of like you get elastic with the groove and then can really kind of have some fun with this. Well, now let's get low down. Way down low. Let's get low down, baby. Way down low. Let's get low down, baby, till you can't get down no more. Baby, get dirty, dirty to the death now. Get dirty, baby, dirty to the death. Get dirty, child, 'cause now you know it don't make no sense.
Oh man, that's in my feelings right there. Quarantini now. Quarantini got me feeling pretty good. Quarantini now. Yeah. Quarantini happy hour got me feeling good. Yeah, yeah. I haven't played music in a long time now. I feel like I'm at the prime example or something. Ooh. My bad.
Speaking of which, who's ready for a top up?
Yeah. Yo.
Good.
He good.
Sir.
Thank you so much, John. Ashley, cheers.
I know you got a witness over here.
You know what's funny? I mean, we naturally kind of fell into that whole like that blues. I didn't mean to do that, to be honest, but
That was fun.
I tell you, you know, that's another thing I would like to talk about too, John, about the drumming, the shuffles. Man, let me tell you.
Oh, please, yeah.
Yo.
Illuminates about the shuffles, because the shuffle is a bit of a mystery.
It is. And let me tell you, when you learn the shuffle as a drummer from everybody who plays the shuffle in any other city in the country, or any Kansas City, Memphis, you name them, Chicago, when you learn the shuffle from them, the way they approach the shuffle is actually it's another rice cake situation. It's stale. The way you learn it is. The way you learn it is a more so traditional perspective. So it's like, you know. It actually feels pretty good, but I've like drenched myself in a lot of grease to get it to naturally feel that way.
Yeah.
But when you first learn it, most people play it like this. It still feels good, but well, in New Orleans, when they play those shuffles, boom, 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 they really are coming from like the triplet is really strong.
Like coming out of like the 12/8
12/8.
stuff, like that.
And the bass drum is where the shuffle is.
Ah.
So if you there's a song I think we recorded with you, John. I don't know if you put it out, but it's one of my favorites on that. The one that we recorded, the Dynamite record, where
Too little, too late.
Yeah, too little,
Too little, too late. Yeah, that one didn't go. Yeah, that didn't go on the record. That one. I
Listen, I might record that one myself. And too little, too late. Ooh, man, this one. And the shuffle.
baby, it's way too late. Too little, too late. Way too little, baby, and it's way too late.
Hey.
I remember on our first date, took on home, baby. He ran away. I'm even forgetting my own song.
Yeah.
Way too little in his way too
Is that a
late.
biz right here?
Ah, you're thinking 21st century gypsies singing Love a Man.
Okay, 21st. Okay.
Because that's a 12/8 groove too, yeah.
Yeah, but the way
Is
the
that the one
shuffle
you're
is
thinking
played-
of?
Yeah,
Yeah.
21st.
Singing Love a Man. Well, I'm your 21st century gypsy singing Love a Man.
I may be mixing them up. I apologize for that, but
That's all right.
I just know that That shuffle feel comes from the
I
bass
know
drum.
it's hard to love a gypsy.
Ooh, hey.
But don't worry, baby, I'll soon be coming back to you. Yeah. If I gotta steal away like a thief in the night now, baby, it's only 'cause I hate to say that long goodbye to you. Yeah, man. And I know there ain't nowhere that ever compare, baby, with the comfort of your big brass bed. But you see, I got a long, hard road to travel. I'm only cold, hard, stony ground for this poor boy. The rest is weary, worried head. Like a fish out of water, drowning on dry land. If I ain't got a reservation ticket, baby, a century gypsy singing love of mine.
You was playing
I
organ.
like it both ways. I like it both ways on that chorus. Well, I'm your 21st century gypsy singing love of mine. All right, to the bridge. You see that Apollo spirit, it's been roaming free now since way, way back the time began. Was a wandering minstrel in a previous life, and I'm your 21st century, oh, gypsy singing love of mine. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah.
I haven't. Smokey Johnson. If you ever see Smokey Johnson play those videos when he's playing Blueberry Hill, like he's playing some of those, bang, boom, bang. You watch the
Yeah.
video when they show the camera behind his drums and behind his bass drum. His bass drum is like.
His bass drum was ferocious. He was in my band for a minute,
Oh my god.
and I would call off a tune, and he would come in like a steamroller. He used to groove me, and I counted off. This is talking about Smokey Johnson. He was Fats Domino's drummer. And he counted off 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, and he felt like someone had just whacked you in the back.
I love it. I love it.
And because he would really, I loved it, because he was an old man, but he would really dig in. He used to lean like the way the old jazz drummers used to lean.
Yeah, yeah.
But boy, he was a powerful drummer. Smokey Johnson. A lot of aggression, a lot of attitude, yeah.
Bro.
So that, you were talking about shuffles today, and we just played a triplet feel. So for the people who are watching, you might be curious to know what the connection is, who aren't necessarily musicians. A shuffle is a groove that's featured in the blues, and there's a lot of different ways of playing shuffles, like Jamison was saying. And in New Orleans, where they have a tradition of playing triplet figures on the right hand of the piano, like Smiley Lewis and Fats Domino and those old Dave Bartholomew records. A shuffle is every other beat. Doom, cat, doom, tap, doom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom. It's playing triplets but leaving one out. So let's play a little bit like a Smokey Johnson kind of approach on one of those things, just in C. One night of sin. That's what I'm not paying for. The things I did and I saw will make the earth stay still. Don't call my name. You never did no one no wrong. Let's go to D. Yeah, now I know that little white lies. Yeah. Yeah, so that's like a New Orleans way of playing a shuffle.
I'm laughing, man, because it's so different from learning a shuffle. The way that it's got so much, there's so much bottom in it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so much. When I say bottom, I mean like it's built from the bass drum up. I mean I mean I'm talking drum perspective, John, but you know you're right. There's a lot of different ways to approach the shuffle.
Yeah.
When it comes to playing the shuffle, I mean the drums in general in New Orleans, it's built from the bottom up. You rarely hear the drum kit built from the cymbals or the hi hat down.
Yeah.
It's like boom, cat. You know what I'm saying? Boom, you know, yeah, like you know, it's not, you know, and so in general in those tempos, I don't even know how to play a shuffle at those tempos without actually accessing the bass drum. If you try to do it, it'll probably fall apart.
Have you marched in street parades, playing snare drum in funeral bands and stuff?
Thanks to David Torganowski, I got a call one day. So I'll tell y'all this story. So I had been here for almost 10 years, and I had never marched, right?
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of parades, you know, like with a beer bottle or something like that. With my wife, family.
Yeah.
And one time, Torque called me and said, "Hey, man, you got a snare drum and a strap? Want to make $400, you know?" I'm at the house. I'm like sitting in the house in pajamas. It's like a Saturday morning. He's like, "Yeah, I need you to be downtown at
20 minutes."
So I was like, oh, okay, what the heck? And for me, I was like, it's a great experience. I've never done this. John, I went and got a strap from upstairs from like my cymbal bag and like figured out how to like put a snare drum, which is a lot more complicated than it looks, guys.
I take your word for it.
So I get out there and march, maybe a mile. I'll say a mile. I'll say about 15, 20 minutes. So yeah, probably about a mile walking. And I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I got drug. I mean, it was not. I did not come. I mean, they were whooping my tail, and everybody else who was playing, they showed up 5 minutes before, still putting the tux and stuff on, still putting the suit and tie on, and so I get ready to play, and so Torque's like, Torque trusts me, and I knew the history, but I didn't know what to do. What happens? He's like, all right, give me a roll off, and I was like, oh. So, you mean like, so I gotta, and so, what's your man's name? Y'all, you probably know him. He's around all the time. Hey, fella, count it off. Yeah. So I was just like, and I just like did it thinking, okay, this is what I do on a drum set. Playing just a snare drum and having a bass drum player, tuba, because what it is you're working together to create that sound. Yeah, but that's where the swing is. That's where the funk is. The funk. And so whenever you see some of the older guys play New Orleans or more modern New Orleans approach, they always, the drums don't sound in sync completely. Yeah. Like if you ever see Shannon or Hurlin or even, Joe Lasty, when they play,
I love that groove. Just keep playing that.
Sound like two people, Washington and LaSalle, where they might shoot at you. What happens is you hear, when you go you get up there in the park and they. Ooh, and it's like, whoa, like a party, you know what I mean? And the bass drum player drops out.
fun playing quiet.
Those New Orleans grooves, especially when you get into like a traditional New Orleans situation, where you need to give that kind of like pocky way. And see, for me, Big Chief, I like to take chances on Big Chief. You know. You know. Might be like, yeah. You walk up and down the street, hear people playing that groove. It's like, oh, you play it this way. You play it this way. Oh, you play it this way. When I first moved to town, man, somebody told me, man, you got to play it one. I had a cat tell me that. I got on a gig, and the cat was like, nah, man, you playing it wrong. No, it's Scott. Like, it's a specific groove. And, man, then I started walking up and down the street and hearing everybody play the groove. Then I would hear Raymond play it one way. Then I would hear, like, you know, Russell.
That's right. That's a really good point, I think. You've got to learn the language and then learn all the vocabulary, get it all under your skin, and then mash it all up and hope that when it comes out through your set of filters, it's got your stamp on it. So you're right, when you hear Russell play that Big Chief groove, or you playing it, or Jelly Bean, or Bunchy Johnson, they all have everyone plays New Orleans drum, but everyone's got totally distinctive, it's not like a dance move that everybody does. Everyone's doing their own unique thing, you know, and it's the combination of all that lovely variety that makes up the sort of the New Orleans storybook, really. Wow. Well, I'm so glad we get a chance to actually come play a little bit of music together. This is kind of rare. I'm sure as you're watching, you're stampeding towards the and hurling them at the computer.
Praise the Lord.
And I hope somehow they'll come out this end. Don't stop. Don't stop. Because how long is it since you've done a gig or played with some musicians like this in this situation?
I did a live stream. Maybe I think it was since then. And honestly, it's been interesting because every time I thought I would have a chance to play, something happened with the pandemic where it was like not safe. I had a couple jazz festivals that were still trying to do like some kind of performance thing but then like the traveling thing, trying to fly to the Savannah. I mean, a few festivals were like, you know, they wanted me to drive. I was like, no, I'm not going to drive.
And from New Orleans.
Yeah. You know, it's a couple things but what I'm learning, there's things I wanted to get done as well during the pandemic as a musician. I know we've spent the whole time talking about New Orleans and like music. That's because it's kind of a central place for all of us. But I mean, you know, everything I don't think none of us would completely put us in the New Orleans bag all at once, you know.
Sure.
You know, there's a lot we do. Long story short, every project I tried to get off the ground, I feel like this time for us has been like, okay, it's going to be a little different to work it out. You're going to have to kind of try to exercise other ways to make projects happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all still up in the air, really, isn't it? I can't believe it's been 6 months.
Bro. Yeah. And we got
we played at the Maple Leaf on the Friday night before lockdown, and we toured this. Neighbors, Big D.
Oh, y'all lucky, man. 'Cause we was at the Trump had the travel ban, and I basically they canceled all of my shows, and I had to fly back the next day. And that was like the night after he was like, you know, all U.S. travel, you know, the whole nine. And so I was like, man, this is weird, man. I got home within a week. the whole year was done. You know, it's like, oh, okay, all right. Came to Nigel.
It kind of came out of the blue, didn't it?
Sound good.
She loved me fine when I was back from Hong Kong. She told me now I'm back here, back home. Now she wanna give me some chills. She said, "Will you get back? We're gonna cha-cha all night long." Oh, but she lied.
I love that.
Will you get back? We're gonna sing a different song. But she lied. Oh, I'm here in a hotel, wondering where. But she lied. Will you get back? We're gonna sing a different song. But she lied. Oh, Chico, oh baby. She lied. Will you get back?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey.
Well, I think it's about that time, y'all. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And as the Quarantini hour draws to a close, special thanks to Nigel Hall playing bass tonight. You may have seen Nigel playing all kinds of other instruments. Tonight he's getting down on the P bass. And my good friend Jamison Ross playing the drums. Thank you for coming out, Jamison. It's great to see you.
Glad to be here, man.
Yeah, get the benefit of your experience. And Mike Dorsey on the engineering controls.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, Mike.
Trish the dish manning the microphone. We didn't take any questions, did we?
Not a lot of questions, just lots of happy
People just been digging the
lots
music.
Of very clapping hands and dancing girl emojis.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everybody. Back next week. Saturday piano lesson at 12. Next Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Quarantini hour. There might be a guest, there might not. We don't know. We're making it up as we go along.
Probably be here.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna crash it again.
I have nothing to do.
Let's play one little last shuffle, a kind of swing shuffle, just to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you, everybody. Tips are very much appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed the music and the conversation as much as I did. Let's play a little shuffle in B flat just for fun. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
That's my Thin Lizzy coming out.
All
Right now.
right. Hey. Who's ready for a Quarantini top up?
I am
You know what? If you're gonna twist my arm about it. Well.
How you looking over there, Nige?
My brother.
Oh man.